Hi and welcome to TeachStar, and today we're going to be looking at how we describe students with SEN. So, this is a personal pet peeve of mine, and I haven't even considered this until about, I think, 7 years ago. My brother, who's not a teacher, he's a doctor, said this to me about how to talk about patients, and it really stuck with me, and I didn't realise how much it stuck with me until I started looking at my classroom and looking at colleagues talking about students. Now, what today's video is on is imagine me walking into a classroom with a colleague and I'm observing them, and I observe the lesson and I sit down with them afterwards. And I say, okay, so what are you doing about SEN in your classroom? And they say, well, I've sat the dyslexics at the front so that I can help them. I also have the EAL students at the front as well on the other row, so I can make sure that they understand the lesson. Now, for a lot of you, you probably think that's absolutely fine. I don't hear anything wrong with that. Today's video is to say that I personally, and this is an opinion, I think that's wrong. I think the way that colleague has said that is fundamentally wrong, and it's a kind of psychology kind of question. It's not a matter of that person being like evil or anything. Of course not. That person's fine. It's a matter of psychology and attitude. So, a patient said to my brother, these years ago, 7 years ago, that actually I really don't like being called, the condition they were, I can't remember what it was, say dyslexic, but it obviously wasn't, because it was more serious than that. It was actual psychological issue. The patient said to my brother, I don't want to be called that, I want to be called a patient with that. And it really woke him up, and actually the hospital as a whole, it woke up that actually the way they were describing patients was wrong. And I think the way we describe students with dyslexia is wrong if we call them, right, I need to sit the dyslexic here. That's awful. That's saying the fundamental characteristic about that person that identifies them is the fact they have dyslexia. And the way of phrasing it, in my opinion, is a student with dyslexia. Simple. It's a student first. They are a student. They are a person, and they have dyslexia. Or, a student with EAL, or with English as EAL, an extra additional language. Okay? So, you need to identify them as a student first and then their condition. Obviously, the communication of a student with dyslexia is really important, and so I'm not advocating that we don't call them students with dyslexia. I just think that when you say, oh, I've got the dyslexics at the front, it completely overwhelms their entire personality with their condition, which I don't think is right. Now, some of you out there might say, oh, this is taking it too far. Oh, what's it? A social justice warrior or whatever. I have no idea. I don't believe it is. I think if you have a characteristic about yourself, I have no idea. I can't really say any of them, but say skin colour. Like, if you are a skin colour person, I think, no, you're a person that has a specific skin colour. If you are, I don't know, religious, you're a person that has a religion, or that follows a religion. I don't think that putting the characteristic first before, dyslexic student, or just dropping the student entirely, the dyslexic, I don't think it's helpful, and I don't think it sets the right mindset, because if you've worked with a student with dyslexia, that is not their characteristic, that is not their personality. They are either lovely and a nice hard-working student, or they are not very not very amenable to your instructions or whatever. They've got a whole personality, and you're saying the dyslexic, and that's it. That's who they are. And I personally, it does not sit right with me. I don't like political correctness. I really don't. And I'm not advocating kind of, oh, you can't say the D word. No, you have to highlight what it is that you're, highlighting about their student and what you're doing about it. That's excellent practice, and the parents of that child or the carers of that child will be really grateful that you're discussing their condition in a way that's helping them. But just don't call them dyslexic. And I think when you've heard this message, you start picking up on how people talk about people with certain conditions, and it doesn't sit right. It doesn't feel right to be calling them, I've sat the dyslexics at the front. It just doesn't sit right. And so me personally, I never ever do that. I have worked with and heard of and talked to and other people who say this all the time, and I talk to them and I say, do they have any other characteristics other than that? Well, then they're a student, which encompasses all their characteristics, with dyslexia. And most people are very, very happy and actually go, oh, okay, yeah, fine, that's how I call them, and that's fine. So I hope this video is a bit eye-opening. If it's not, or if you disagree with anything I've said, please write it in comments. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you want to see more from us, please click subscribe. We release videos every single weekday at 5 o'clock in the evening. Thank you.